Hey there, viewer. Ron speaking, and over the course of the last week, I've been drawing one picture for Cartoon Network every day for their 30th anniversary. And boy, was it somewhat exhausting. So, for context, Cartoon Network's 30th birthday was October 1st, and they didn't really do much. They re-aired some of their older shows. I spit all over my phone, hang on. They re-aired some of their older shows, and they had this live stream that was going on for pretty much the entire month where they aired all their older shows. Well, specific episodes from each show, they would just be on loop for the entire month. I kind of wish they did a little bit more, but given their whole situation right now, I'm just glad they're still alive at this point. You've heard of the whole Warner Brothers Discovery situation. If you hear like chainsaws in the back or something, I don't know, somebody's doing yard work, or I don't know what kind of person would be doing yard work with a whole chainsaw, but yeah, there's nothing I can really do about that. I'm still just recording in my room. I don't have a recording booth. But yeah, so I was looking up random things online about Cartoon Network's 30th birthday, like what other people were doing, and I saw this one thing that was basically like an Inktober thing. For those you know, Inktober was I don't really fully know what it is, but it's basically they have a list of like categories or something, and then you're supposed to draw something for that every day for October, usually using ink. But somebody made that for Cartoon Network. I was never really into Inktober or anything. I don't really I didn't think it was worth my time, but with Cartoon Network, something I actually care about, I thought that'd be kind of cool. But I broke every single rule. Like, I didn't use, as you see, I used a pencil for most of it. I didn't color it in or anything. I'll explain this in a minute. And like some days I would, like they had a category for one specific show, but I would mix in shows with each other. So yeah, I'm just gonna show that off. Also, another reason I'm doing this is because I really want to talk about Cartoon Network shows, just for no other reason. I really don't know when else I'll get the chance to. So yeah, this is just my excuse for that. But to start off, this is a picture I actually drew a couple of months ago about Cartoon Network, just because I felt like it. And yeah, we got the older logo, the 2000s logo. We got the kids next door here chasing Ed, and Eddy, who stole their shopping cart. Yeah, Foster's Home, Dexter. We got Courage, the Cowardly Dog. Scared of the Grim Reaper, and Powerpuff Girls. Cool. Okay, so to start things, they said to draw something for Cartoon Network's 30th birthday. It was very vague. So I just drew a bunch of the more classic characters that that Cartoon Network didn't really create, but they're associated with because they aired all of them. And this is also to prove that I really am better at drawing physically than I am digitally. I've said this before. I made a whole video on it that not a lot of people saw. But yeah, I draw better physically. I don't know. That's just the thing. So yeah, Bugs and Daffy here, which as a little kid I liked Looney Tunes, but it wasn't my favorite. I would watch it, but it wasn't really my thing. George Jetson here. I didn't really care for the Jetsons stuff. Yeah, remember, for some of these shows, I just didn't care about them, but I wanted to include them because it's, Cartoon Network Celebration. I gotta do as much Cartoon Network stuff as possible, even if I don't necessarily like them. Got Tom and Jerry here, which was my favorite cartoon when I was younger, and my mom had to ban me from it because I would mimic the stuff they would do on there. I would be like trying to break plates or something, so I was banned from it for like a year. Got that Tex Avery wolf, which I looked up, and apparently his name is Wolfie. Not sure about that. You got Batman here. I did a dog crap job drawing him. I was trying to cheat it by having him covered by his cape, but it just kind of looks like apples. Like he's got apples in his cape or something. You got Wonder Woman. You got Red Hot Riding Hood, because I figured if I was going to have him, I might as well draw her. Had a little trouble with her hair. It looks like organs. Secret Squirrel. I used the Two Stupid Dogs design for Secret Squirrel because I just like that design better. I'm a bigger fan of this sharper art style for most cartoons, as you might see later. Fred Flintstone, which I actually did like the Flintstones when I was younger. It was something I'd watch every now and then. And Droopy Dog. So yeah, and I have Cartoon Network, the best place for cartoons. Well, they were before Discovery came in like a parasite and ruined everything. So that's that. So for the first day, they said to draw something about Dexter's lab, and I thought the general theme would be each show would have its own little celebration for Cartoon Network, or just their own show. And this is one of my favorite shows. At my time, it was airing on Boomerang. It would be airing on Boomerang pretty frequently, so I was watching it on that, and yeah, it was one of my favorites. So we got Dexter chasing Dee Dee for stealing his slice of cake. We got the parents here, had a little trouble with her leg. Yeah, Monkey, and then Agent Honeydew, I think her name is, and then Major Glory back here. I would have put the entire Justice Friends, but no more room for it. I will say, though, the show was obsessed with showing Dexter naked or in his underwear every other episode, and that, even as a kid, that kind of disturbed me. But other than that, this was one of my favorite shows. Next up, they said draw Johnny Bravo. I think it was one of my absolute favorite shows, just in general, and it still is one of my favorite cartoons ever. And when I was drawing this, like, while I was actually in the process of drawing it, I just started laughing because I started remembering every single quote this guy said. And it was like, "Oh, 911, there's a handsome guy in my house. Oh, excuse me, it's only me." You know, stuff like that. I just started playing in my head and I just couldn't stop laughing. Because I know his character hasn't aged very well. Yes, he is, like, misogynist. I hate using that word, but I don't know what else to call him. But darn it, it was the funniest thing when I was younger, and I loved it. And, you know, since this girl, I actually don't remember her name, but she was in the Valentine's Day special and was the only girl to ever actually like him on screen anyway. And I figured, you know, his 30th anniversary is one of my favorite characters. I'm going to let him have this. I'm going to let him have that. And then got Velma here and Daphne from Scooby-Doo, because I don't know if you guys remember or know about this, but there were old bumpers on Cartoon Network during the Powerhouse era where they would have them all working in an office building, and Velma and Johnny were in a relationship in those. I think she's a teenager, though, and he's biologically an adult, definitely not mentally. So that was a little weird. But it was the 90s, I'm sure they didn't think much about it. And this is also when I decided to mix in other shows with each other so I can cram in as many Cartoon Network properties as possible. So yeah, there's that. Next up, they said Cow and Chicken. I did not like the show when I was younger. I thought it was kind of gross. But yeah, so I drew them doing their little dance. And the red guy, he's the devil. As a kid, I knew he was the devil. I was a Christian. I knew who Satan was. I'm still a Christian, so I know who Satan is. Yeah, and then Foghorn Leghorn here is looking like I drank out of that. He's got a blank face with a punch bowl, and he's got this guy. I know the red guy's whole thing is that he shows his butt a lot, but I really didn't want to draw that. Yeah, there's that. Not much to say because I didn't watch the show that much, and when I did watch it, I didn't like it. I haven't gone back and watched it, so maybe I'll like it more when I come back to it. I don't know. I Am Weasel. I know jack squat about this show. Some of these shows I straight up just have not seen, and there's only a handful of them that I didn't like. Cow and Chicken was one of them, and when you get to some of the ones that I don't like, I'll have some explaining to do. I'll just say that. But yeah, all I know about this show is that he's the hero, which was rare for a Weasel at the time, and then he's Jealous One. I didn't know this character at all. She showed up a lot when I looked up I Am Weasel, so I assumed she was an important character. I think her name was Nurse Lullaby? And then just Huckleberry Hound here. I just drew him to fill space. I didn't watch his show. Yeah, again, not much to say. Powerpuff Girls. Still one of my favorite cartoons, despite being when I was a little boy, this show would normally seem girly. But watching it back, it is one of the most violent cartoons I have ever seen. Even showing blood in some cases. But, yeah, that's probably why I was roped into it. So we got the Blossom, Bubbles. No, wait, no, but that's Bubbles. Buttercup. I think as a kid, my favorite one was Buttercup because he was the most violent one. The Professor, Mojo Jojo being beat up back here. the mayor and Miss Bellum holding a balloon to cover her face. I remember that being really funny to me. That like no matter what, they were so committed to covering her face the entire time. And yeah, that's that. I gotta keep this pretty quick because I don't want this video to be too long. Ed, and Eddy. Probably it's a tie between this and another show later, but this is probably my favorite of the classic Cartoon Network shows. And one of my favorites when I was younger, when it did air. You gotta remember, I was born in 2004, and most of my memories start 2009. So anytime I would catch the show, it would be airing on either Boomerang or Cartoon Network, or Cartoon Planet or something. But I would catch the show, and I think just for the animation alone, I loved it. And to this day, it's one of my favorite cartoons ever. I'm wearing an Eddy and Eddy shirt right now. You probably can't see it, but I'm wearing it as I'm recording this. I couldn't fit every character, but you have Ed running, throwing confetti everywhere. You got Eddy and Double D on him. You got Rolf eating meat because that's his whole thing. And then Johnny with Plank. And then Naz and Kevin. I think I made him too tall. It's another running theme. I was having trouble with character sizes, as you'll see in a minute. But, yeah. Oh, I do know that they released the complete series DVD for this show. It is missing pretty much every special, like every holiday special and the movie. But, you know, I'll pick it up when I can, because I still want at least more Eddy and Eddy content, I guess. Okay, so for this one, they said Mike, Lou, and Og. But this is another show I know jack squat about, and I doubt most people do. This kind of looks like a Nickelodeon show. I feel like people would mistake this for a Nickelodeon show. So I roped them into this Forgotten Tunes Club, where just a bunch of Cartoon Network shows that don't really get much attention at all. We got Time Squad. I don't know his name. Robot Jones. Here, he was kind of mistreated on his time on the network. I know his name Otto from Time Squad. And then Sheep from Sheep in the Big City. They made a big deal out of him and the Cartoon Fridays, which, yeah, I wasn't around for, but I watched the bumpers for it, and they made him out to be a big deal, and he only lasted for a year. So that's great. Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's another one of my favorite cartoons. When I was younger, I was not scared of the show itself at all, but the ending logo for Stretch Films, which animated the show, the ending logo where it had the teeth and it would go, that's what scared me. There was nothing about the show itself, probably because I hadn't actually seen the scariest parts of it. But yeah, I've gone back to watch it plenty of times, and it's just a show that never gets old to me. So we got Courage here, Muriel, and the Pinata of the Cartoon Network logo with Eustace coming out with his famous mask, and Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. I either made him too short or him too tall. I don't know. While I was drawing these, I was mostly just looking up clip art and then referencing that. So if you looked up any of these shows, you'll probably see which clip art I copied from. I didn't trace. I'll tell you that. I didn't trace. I just referenced, and you'll be able to see that. Samurai Jack, a show I have not gotten to watching at all, but I hear is really good, and I'll get around to it eventually. I gotta buy the complete series DVD of it. And yeah, Samurai Jack Hirashi, who I had trouble drawing a lot, not for the reason you think. I just legitimately had issues. Same thing with the Scotsman here with all the details on him. I wanted to make the characters as close to their original designs as possible, and that's why I used the clip art. And then you got Aku. I almost forgot his name. He's the big bad of the show. Aku, he's upset at him for burning the entire area. So that's that. Codename Kids Next Door. This is tied with Eddy and Eddy as my favorite show from the classic era, I guess. It's one that I didn't watch that much when I was younger, but I've gone back, and it's just so clever with all the little gadgets made out of household items, and the whole thing of these children just essentially just playing pretend, but it going to the absolute extreme. It is really fun. I hope it gets a complete series DVD release soon because it's amazing. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I know it says kids next door, but I think it can be enjoyed by adults probably more so than kids because it causes you to look back at your childhood and like, oh, I remember when I played like that. So yeah, we got the Sector V fighting father over the cake. I was originally gonna have the delightful children here, but I didn't feel like drawing all that. Next is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, a show I didn't really watch when I was younger, but I've gone back and watched it, and yeah, it's pretty funny. So this one kind of stopped airing completely. It wasn't on Boomerang or airing on Cartoon Network or anything, but I knew about it when I was younger. I just didn't care for it. I didn't care to watch it, but going back, I think I would have loved it if I was when I was younger. And I tried to cram in as many characters from it as possible, and that made this drawing kind of exhausting to do. So we've got Billy here, Mandy looking angry like ever, Grim get an argument with Boogie because they're rivals. Fred Fredberger talking with Irwin, and Hoss Delgado looking for supernatural beings that aren't invited. Got the Spider Queen about to eat. I think her name's Mindy. Yeah, there's that. The thing said Evo Con Carne, but I really didn't know what to do with it because it didn't last very long. It wasn't a massive hit from what I know, and I even wrote it here. I didn't really know what to do here because I didn't know much about this show. All I knew from it was the absolute basic premise is these three guys taking over the world. You got General Scar, who I think later became a Billy and Mandy character anyway. I think the bear's name is Boss Cobb, and this guy's Hector. And then Dr. Major Ghastly or Major Dr. Ghastly, I don't remember. Yeah, I haven't seen this show, and I actually don't really know if I ever will, because I can't find it anywhere. Foster's Home. This is another one of my favorites, especially when I was younger. It was airing on Boomerang, and yeah, so this is just them setting up. We got Blue here. I think I messed up in his eyes a little bit. And then Eduardo and Madam Foster, Coco, Wilt, and Mag and Frank. I think I made Frankie too tall. Why is she almost as tall as Wilt? That's another issue I have. I may draw better physically, but I really need to work on character sizes and all this. Because, like, this Coco should not be as tall, almost as tall as Eduardo. And then I think he should be way taller than everyone else here, but they're like half his height. I don't know. But yeah, I drew that, and I think it looks good by my standards, but not perfect. And that's another running trend with this little thing I did. Like, oh, okay, this one is interesting. I know Jack squat about this show. I think I watched like one episode like a couple weeks ago just to get a refresher for it. It's Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi. The only way I know who Puffy AmiYumi are is because they sung the Teen Titans theme, which is why I have Robin down here. I was going to have more of the times, but by the time I was drawing this, I was exhausted from doing all that. You got Sia and Wheela because they came out during this specific era with this logo. And then got Tommy and Robot Boy from Robot Boy, which I have watched a little bit of, and it's alright. Not really great, but yeah, it's alright. I think like it'd be kind of thing I'd like more if I was younger. The whole series is on YouTube if you want to watch it. We got CN and Garden Network. Yes, their slogan from 2007, I think. And then this little note here. I don't feel like filling this whole crowd, so I filled it with signs held by random people. So yeah, you can just assume that this whole crowd down here is from other Cartoon Network shows or something. I do have to ask, why does Japan love this symbol so much? This. Why the circle? Yeah, this. Why do they love doing that so much? Like, it's in so many animes that just have the cute anime girl going like, ooh. When over here it's kind of associated with hippies that smoke a lot. It's cultural differences, I guess. Camp Lazlo, a show that is frustratingly difficult to find. There's no DVDs of it at all. It's not on any streaming services. It's just, you cannot find it. But I watched it a little bit when I was younger, and I liked it. Not really a favorite of mine, but I liked it. So they're Speaking of chainsaws, there's a chainsaw going in the back right now. I'm not sure what they're doing out back there, but I can't think of a better day to film, so I'm just gonna take what you can get, okay? But yeah, they got chainsaw trying to carve the sculpture for Cartoon Network, and then they're doing it rather, or at least they're about to fall, and it's probably gonna be a massive gory mess. I don't know. Yeah, not much to say there. My gym partner's a monkey. Another show I didn't really like when I was younger. Like, I watched it a bit, and I was like, this is stupid. And I think I'm not alone on that. Normally, if you made fun of any of the shows I just talked about, people would be rioting. They would take the old Cartoon Network very seriously and say that every show nowadays is bad. But this show, when people talk about this specific era of Cartoon Network, the 2000s, and how great it was, this show doesn't really come up. And that's for good reason. It had one joke, and that one joke was Jake's butt. That they were obsessed with showing Jake's butt over and over again, and one episode apparently had so many monkey butts on it, it got banned. So yeah, I watched it some, I didn't really like it, but you know, it was on the prompt, so we got Jake and Adam here, I don't freaking know these guys' names, the Bull Shark, and I think, judging by this person's whistle, I'm assuming they're a gym coach, and then Principal Pixie Pro. The joke here was that the shark was holding the entire punch bowl he was going to drink, and then Jake swung over, hit him in the head, and it's going to spill over. This was the only other human in the show from what I know, so I drew her. I don't even remember her name. She looks like the midway point between Dora the Explorer and Paulina from Danny Phantom. So, yeah. The stoner snake dude, and then the toucan bro. Yeah. Wasn't a big fan of that show, but I drew it. Ben 10. This one, so I wanted to mix in more shows that maybe weren't on the prompt, and just to add more flair. So I thought of a funny idea where like the action cartoon shows were the security for it, and we got one of the Ben 10 villains here, one of the Juniper Lee. I hadn't heard of this show until like, so when I was like 10 or 11, I had a phase where I was looking up stuff from before my time. Like, I would look up Cartoon Network cartoons from 2000s or whatever. The main reason for that was because all these cartoon channels were convincing me that everything in modern that I liked was garbage, and the only thing that mattered was stuff before 1999. Everything after that, complete dog crap. I kind of stopped believing that after a while, and around that time I started feeling bad about myself for liking certain cartoons, and we'll get to that in a bit. But regardless, yeah, I didn't actually, so that's where I heard about this show. I'm like, oh, that looks more like a Disney cartoon, just compared to American Dragon Jake Long a lot. But yeah, Ben 10, I did watch a lot of it. The older had a foreign accent for a bit there. The older show was airing on Boomerang, and the current show at that time, which I think was Omniverse, was airing on Cartoon Network. So I was really big on Ben 10 for a while. So this is a classic version of Ben 10, and then Juniper. I figured since these are fairly similar shows, I think someone who's actually watched the show could probably correct me on it, but they both fight supernatural beings with things on their wrists. So yeah. Okay, Chowder. I remember discovering this show on Boomerang, and at the time, I thought it was peak comedy. I could not stop laughing when I was watching it. It was for a while, it was the funniest cartoon I had ever seen up to that point. And I remember every night it would air on Boomerang at like 7 at night, and I would be sure to catch it every single time. I loved this show, and I still do. So, yeah, I thought of them. Get your food before Chowder eats it all. I'm not sure why I misspelled it purposely. I don't think Cartoon Network was one to do that. Maybe they were. I don't know. But yeah, they have a whole buffet ready here. They got burgers and I'm seeing some of the next drawing. They got sandwiches and burgers and pizza and stuff. Have one of what Cartoon Network called the nudes. Kind of a weird name for them. I can imagine some kid, if they looked up Cartoon Network news and misspelled it wrong, they get a very different result. But yeah, this is the first era of Cartoon Network that I remember. Because, like I said, most of my memories start 2009, and that's when the nudes era was in like the middle of its lifespan. So I would see these little blob creatures run around, and as a kid, I thought they were kind of cool. It's a bit of a weird era, and especially with the whole live action stuff, but, these guys I thought they were cool, so I wanted to include them here. Then we got Zack Saturday, and I don't remember his actual name, but I think these things are called Cryptoids from the Secret Saturdays. I didn't watch it much, but I wanted to include cartoons from this era, and they didn't have much. So, and then Total Drama. I actually didn't like Total Drama when I was younger. I thought the characters looked ugly, and I didn't want to watch it. I haven't gone back and watched it, but this was pretty much Cartoon Network saving grace back in 2008 or whatever, so I wanted to include that here. We got, I think his name's Owen, the really fat one, and he's ready to eat because fat. I can say that. Dang it. I can say that. I'm kind of fat. And I think I made him fatter just to fit up more space. And then this girl, I don't remember her name right now. But I just looked up Total Drama Girls. I didn't want to draw Gwen because she was too common, I think. So, yeah. There's that. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Might hear this note here. For pulling us out of our dark age and bringing us into our renaissance, which I had to look up how to spell that. Here's all the candy you can eat, everyone here at CN. So, when people talk about this show, most of the time it's not really about the show itself, it's about what it did for cartoons. Cartoon Network kind of had a history of starting careers of several animators, and this is one of those shows. Flapjack was created by Van Orman, which had people on it like Pendleton Ward, who would go to create Adventure Time, or J.G. Quintel, who would create Regular Show, and Patrick McHale, who would create Over the Garden Wall. And, they started tons of careers. But nobody ever really talks about the show itself, unless we're talking about how scary it was, or how disturbing it is. Yes, it is absolutely disturbing, but yeah. So I watched this a little bit when I was younger. It was kind of on its way out in my time, but I liked it. And looking back, I really like it. I watched some of the episodes, and I really enjoy it. It's disturbing and kind of gross, yes, but, I still find it enjoyable, even if it's a bit disturbing. So they're just in a pile of candy here. I have one of the Eddy and Eddy Jawbreakers, just for good measure. And Candy Wife. Really disturbing character. Yeah. Next is Adventure Time. So, I watched this when it first came out. I think I was 5 years old. It was 2010. Yeah, I was 5 years old when this came out. I just made a bunch of people feel really old, I think. And then, I think my sister said I shouldn't watch it. My sister was always the one to ban me from watching shows. It was never my mom. It's just anything that said the word idiot or something, my sister would ban me from, because I guess she took it upon herself to ban me from every single show. I'm like, thanks a lot. Yeah. But, so yeah, I stopped watching it, and I haven't really gone back since. The thing, I don't know, it just never interested me, and even now I'm a little bit scared to watch it, because it is apparently one of the most, confusing cartoons ever. The storyline just goes all over the dang place, and, some people enjoy stuff like that. I am not one of those people. If it's okay if a story is serialized. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I like a story to be, not confusing, basically. I don't want the storyline to be like a spaghetti noodle. So, yeah, you want to know how early I stopped watching the show? By this time, the Ice King was still the main villain. That's how early I watched the show. I know later on it's like the Lich and stuff, but that's how early I stopped watching the show. So that's its own thing. So yeah, we thrown as many characters as they could. Lady Rainicorn, the Ice King, Finn and Jake, Bimo, Princess Bubblegum, who people really do not like, apparently. Later in the show, she does some really horrible things, and I guess people don't like her. As someone who stopped watching the show, hearing all the hate posts about Princess Bubblegum was an experience, to say the least. Yeah, Princess, Lumpy Space Princess, that's her name, the Flame Princess, and then Gunther, I think their name is, and then Marceline. Yeah, there's that. Regular show, another show that I watched when it came out, and then my sister banned me from it. Except this time, the show was clearly meant for like older kids, like middle schoolers, and I was 5, so I probably shouldn't have been watching the show anyway. So good call, sis. Um, but yeah, I've gone back to watch it. It is absolutely a guy show, and it's amazing. The show is absolutely hilarious. And they put the slogan here, yeah, because that was actually Cartoon Network's slogan by this point. And yeah, and again, I tried to cram in as many characters as I could. We got Mordecai and Rigby, Sodas, and then Muscle Man, which if I didn't draw him ripping off his shirt, am I really a regular show fan? And then High Five Ghost. You got I drew her. So I started drawing with I figured what's her name? Eileen. I started with the head and I realized, I made her too tall, so I made her jumping along with the Rigby. And then Margaret, then Benson here upset, but he can't really do anything. It's a party. And then Skips, who I think I messed up on, but whatever. But yeah, great show. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's absolutely insane and absolutely hilarious. The Amazing World of Gumball. And as a note here, personal seal of favorite cartoon of all time. Yes, this is my favorite cartoon ever created. It's the funniest show I've ever seen. It's amazing. Well, obviously it's in the show, The Amazing World of Gumball, but yeah, it's hilarious. It's heartfelt still. It makes fun of society in a way that isn't really malicious. It just kind of puts things out. It's great. If you haven't watched it, get on it. It still airs on Cartoon Network because I guess this show was too big to just wipe out. And yeah, so we got the whole Watterson family here. I'll get into this later, but this modern trend of doing this heart shape, it's hard to replicate on paper, I think. And then you got some other characters. I could have added more, but some of the characters being 3D and some being claymation, it was just too much. But yeah, there's that. One of my favorite cartoons ever. My favorite cartoon ever created. So yeah. Okay. Uncle Grandpa. So this drawing was somewhat personal to me. Obviously, we have Behold, the hero of the HBO Max purge, Uncle Grandpa. If you guys remember when HBO Max actually wiped out a lot of the shows, one Uncle Grandpa episode remained, and even after they removed that, he still appeared in that Steven Universe crossover, which I'll get to Steven Universe in a minute. You're not gonna like what I have to say about it. And then he was in the background of a Gumball episode. So this man never died. His own company can't erase him. That's how powerful he is. And so everyone was posting all these memes about how Uncle Grandpa is going to save us or whatever. And you know, when this show was airing, everyone like viscerally hated it. Everyone hated it, but I loved it when I was younger, and seeing all these people trash on it, that's kind of what I mean when I say these cartoon channels around this time were making me feel bad for watching modern cartoons, because they were convincing me that every cartoon was garbage. Every new cartoon is absolute garbage, and all that matters is stuff that I wasn't around for, so it's not like I could have grown up on it, and so I'm a stupid kid. This is what I mean when I say it was a little bit personal to me. So seeing all these people like actually give Uncle Grandpa the respect he deserves, because his show was actually pretty good. Like I go back and watch it and I still enjoy it. So hearing all these people like give him respect, it was nice. And so when I was drawing it, I don't know, I started inexplicably smiling just the entire time, because people finally came around and saying, okay, this show isn't garbage. So we got Mr. Gus and Pete Steve here. I did not like him when I was younger. He was my least favorite character. And then we got some of the characters who were purged. We got Mighty Magiswords here, which I found a surprisingly amount of genuine fan art from this show. Not just the horny fan art for Vamper here, but some genuine fan art of these guys just fighting and, you know, being siblings. So I guess there was fans for this show. I liked it. I thought it was a little too fast when I was younger, but I liked it a lot. Yeah, Oscar from Summer Camp Island, which I thought was canceled a long time ago. Like, Cartoon Network aired it like all day once, and then like never aired it again. So I just assumed that, okay, they just abandoned it. But apparently it was on HBO Max the entire time, but has since been purged. So he's there. And then I forget her name, Tulip, I think her name, from Infinity Train, which I haven't watched, but I know it's a lot of people love it. And you got the little robot here. I don't know his name. I haven't gone around to watching this, and I'm not sure if I will. But I've heard good things about it, and I want to include it here because this is one of the biggest losses from the HBO Max situation. Steven Universe. Okay. As you can see here, I was like, not gonna lie, I was kind of dreading this one. So, there's two types of people with this show. Those who absolutely love it and say it's the greatest, not just the greatest Cartoon Network show, but the greatest cartoon ever created. And those who absolutely hate it and says that it's the absolute worst. I'm not too extreme on either one. I'm like kind of in the middle. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of leaning towards the latter half. Like, I watched it when I was younger when it came out. I think I was like 9 years old when it came out. And I liked it. But I would be way more excited for a new episode of Gumball, or Uncle Grandpa, or Clarence than I would ever be for a Steven Universe episode. And, well, the art style doesn't really appeal to me. And even as a kid, you know how people make fun of the really bad case of being off model with this show? As a kid, I noticed it. Knowing nothing about animation at that time, I noticed like a character would start off this size, and then by the next scene, they would look like this. Like, I noticed that when I was younger, and that would kind of put me off. It was a bit too touchy-feely for me, like too nicey-nice, and had to redeem characters that were responsible for mass genocide. The songs I didn't really enjoy as a kid. Or even now, I mean, some of them I liked, but I didn't really enjoy those. But yeah, it's just a show that doesn't really suit me. It doesn't really fit in my taste, and the storyline being too complicated. I think I watched it up to the cluster arc where they were like drilling the cluster, and then I kind of stopped because Cartoon Network stopped airing it, and I had no interest in revisiting it. And even now, I just don't want to revisit it because I really didn't enjoy the show that much. But I understand that it's really important to a lot of people. It helped people do some tough times, and they absolutely love it, and that's great. I may not respect the show, like, at all, or some of the people who worked on it, if I'm being honest. But I respect those that enjoy it, and that's fine. That's fine. If you enjoy the show, that's fine. And if you don't like the show, that's fine. Just don't hate on others for liking or disliking something. I can't believe we have to have this conversation every single time on the internet, but it has to be said. Excuse me. It has to be said. Like, anyone's gonna listen to it. But yeah, I drew this against my better judgment. I drew it, and got Steven and Connie dancing with Greg here. He was my favorite character, and then the 3 crystal gems. She's eating cake or something. She's standing there because I didn't know what to do with her, and she's about to vomit because I remember that she hates eating. I really didn't like Pearl when I was younger. Yeah, there's that. Not really a show I'm into, but, you know, an important Cartoon Network show nonetheless. Now, here's a show I absolutely loved. Clarence. Another show that was kind of a victim of people saying that it was absolute garbage just because it was modern. But another thing, this is also another issue with Steven Universe that I have. It's not the show's fault. What I'm about to say is not the show's fault. It's more the fault of the audiences. But, you know, this show and Uncle Grandpa and other shows like it came out around the era of Adventure Time and Steven Universe, which were more story-driven. And those were revolutionary, I guess. But, all of a sudden, now, anytime a cartoon was just a comedy or just simple, it was absolutely worthless. So, like, if Uncle Grandpa and Clarence came out in the 2000s or even the 90s, I think it would be right at home. But because they came out in this era of shows with complicated stories and bad finales, all of a sudden, these shows that were normally commonplace were seen as just completely worthless. And that's a real shame, because I think the show was amazing. Obviously, it wasn't anything like... It didn't break boundaries or from whatever. It wasn't really revolutionary or anything, but I thought it was great. I liked, as a kid, that it featured some lower income families, like a lot of the kind of... I'm just going to say, poor towns. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, the 30 years, I figured that Clarence would mess this up. So 30 years of see it, and then have all the characters here. We got, I think her name's Chelsea and Percy. You got Sumo, Clarence, Jeff, Ben Belson, and this guy Gilbin, who's absolutely terrifying. He does not move and does not speak. So there's that. We Bare Bears, another one of my favorite ones when it came out. I think it was 2015. I was 11. I was 10. 10 or 11. And when this came out, and yeah, I still enjoy it a lot. So not much I really have to say on it. I haven't seen We Baby Bears, the newer spinoff, but I don't really care for it. But this show, it was simple, but that's not always a bad thing. Not every show has to be super complicated. Not every show has to be super revolutionary. A show can just be cool, stupid fun. That's what Uncle Grandpa, Clarence, and We Bare Bears did. I'm very passionate about this, as you see. Like, I stand by the idea that a comedy show is not inherently worth less than a serialized action show or whatever. So we got three main bears here. We got Chloe standing on the boom boxes. I figured since they like beatboxed a lot, I figured they'd be like doing this whole thing. Got Charlie here, who really shouldn't be in public, but it's a party. None of them are gonna tattle on him. We got Lucy here. I know there's other characters like Ranger Tabs and stuff, but I didn't feel like filling the entire crowd in. Okay, KO, another victim of the HBO Max purge, but one I really enjoyed. I feel like I could have done more with this drawing instead of just them lifting him up and them kind of looking at him. But, I was exhausted by this point of this whole challenge. So, yeah. So, there's a KO here. This is a show. For some of the shows, I didn't really care to keep them on model because the show didn't care enough to keep them on model. Steven Universe was one thing, Flapjack, and this one, but except this show did it deliberately for comedic effect, whereas Steven Universe kind of came from a place of unprofessionalism, I think. Like, I'm no professional, but they are, so they should do better. But, again, I'm no professional, so I'm not sure how much of a say I really have in it. So, yeah, we got Gail, Enid, forgot her name, but the Kappa girl, I forgot her name right now. Rad, Kayo's mom, I don't really remember her name either. And then Mr. Gar, who looked like Johnny Bravo. So he started making me laugh now because I thought of Johnny Bravo, and then I thought of all his quotes, and yeah. Apple and Onion, a show that I think was a victim of its art style. I even put that here. Not gonna lie, this art style is kind of ugly. So, I like the show a lot, but its art style is kind of gross. It honestly kind of looked like a B-grade adult cartoon upon first glance of it. Excuse me. But I still really enjoy the show. It's simple, but it's funny, and I think it deserves a better chance. I think more people should give it a chance. So yeah, we got titular Apple and Onion here beatboxing because they rapped a lot on the show. And then Lemon Drop, I think her name is Patty, but she looked like a ravioli. Cheeseburger and chicken nugget. Yeah, not much to say there. And the last one on the prompt was Victor and Valentino. I watched it when it came out. It was, I think, 2018 or 2017. I don't remember. I watched it when it came out. I didn't really care about it and haven't rewatched it since. And no, the fact that it had Spanish people didn't pique my interest at all. And as I noted here, I'm Spanish, so I can be as stereotypical as I want. So yes, I am Spanish. But that doesn't mean I automatically love the show. And that brings up an interesting point. So, nowadays, so many cartoons and media in general is obsessed with representation. So, basically meaning that any minority groups like Spanish people or maybe people with disabilities or whatever should be represented more. And that's great, but coming from a Spanish person, I could not give less of a crap about that sort of thing. Most of my favorite cartoon characters are white or animals, and just because something has Spanish characters doesn't mean I'm automatically gonna be like, oh, this is the most revolutionary thing ever. And like, I don't even care if people like are stereotyping me or something. Like, I'll honestly laugh. You tell me the most racist thing about Spanish people, and I'll probably laugh genuinely. That's how little I care about any of this. And most of the characters that I create, like the ones I want to make into a show or comic or whatever, they're not Spanish, and most of them don't even have like natural skin colors. They're all like multicolored. But that's just me. I understand that. Like, I was gonna say I understand this show means a lot to people, but honestly, the show ended a couple months ago, like either 2 months ago or whatever, and nobody cared. Partly because Cartoon Network didn't advertise it very well, but I didn't hear very many people talk about it when it was airing, so I don't think it made a big impact. But yeah, they're celebrating with the sombreros, and we got this. I think her name is Xochi here, and for some reason, Craig of the Creek wasn't part of the prompt, so I'm including it here. So yeah, I got Craig of the Creek. I think I messed up on him, and JP. I didn't have room for Kelsey. Which, by the way, Craig of the Creek, I did watch when it came out, and I liked it. I haven't watched it since. I just kind of fell off for no particular reason. Then I just fell off of it. I didn't really watch it. But yeah, that's it. And that's all we've got. So, what did we learn today? We learned that doing a challenge like this takes a lot out of you. You might have noticed that some of those drawings were not up to snuff with some of the other drawings I did. Because by the end of it, I was kind of getting sick of it, and like, I just want to be done with this whole thing. So, yeah, there's that. And also that, like what you like. It doesn't matter if something is super serious, like Steven Universe or Adventure Time, or is super goofy, like Ed, Edd and Eddy or Gumball. If you enjoy it, feel free to watch it, and don't worry about what other cartoon channels say. I'm not saying that these cartoon channels are bad people, aside from the ones that are pedophiles. The one that is pedophile Cosmodor. But if they say something like Uncle Grandpa or Clarence is a bad show, and the people who watch it are stupid, take that with a grain of salt. I feel like I could have had a much better time on Cartoon Network around like 2013 or so if I just didn't take them personally and feel like I was being stupid for liking these shows. But those did cause me to look back at a bunch of Cartoon Network shows that I might have missed, and yeah, I found things like the CN City or Cartoon Fridays or the Powerhouse era and all that, and had a good time. So those are now nostalgic to me, not because I was there when it happened, but because I was looking back at them all when I was 9 or 10 and realizing what I missed. But again, if you enjoy a show, enjoy it, unless it's like it's harmful to somebody or something. And don't worry about what I was saying. Like when I was dogging on Cow and Chicken or My Gym Partner's a Monkey or Steven Universe, like I'm not saying you don't have to watch it. Again, I respect those who like those shows. It's just I personally didn't enjoy them. But if you enjoy them, that's totally fine, and don't start a massive fight. So, I want to get at least one more animated video by the end of the year, because I haven't done a lot of animated videos lately. But I want to get at least one Christmas video by the end of the year, even if it's not by Christmas. So, that's it for this video. It's very long, and hopefully I can even upload it. Yeah, until the next time I decide to upload, see ya, viewer.